Welcome back to another episode of The Real Perspectives, the podcast where we dive deep into the minds of visionary commercial real estate leaders and executives who are shaping the future of their industry. I'm your host, co-founder and publisher Vladimir Bosanets, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with someone who is trailblazing ideas for healthy buildings. Joining us today is Gil Blutrich, the CEO of Clear Inc., a company based in Toronto and founded by a real estate and hospitality entrepreneur with over 30 years of commercial real estate experience. Faced with the personal experience of a family member affected by water quality, Blutrich went on to create a remarkable enterprise with the goal of helping clean our buildings and with the belief that healthy indoor air and water are a right, not a privilege. Get ready to be inspired as we uncover the mind of this innovation leader. Welcome to the podcast, Gil. Gil, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. Where do we find you today? Where are you?
Today I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Okay, excellent. Just as a way of introduction, Gil, tell us a little bit about your background, what you've done in the industry, and sort of how you've gotten to where you are today.
I'm a developer basically for 3 decades. I started in Tel Aviv, Israel, and later on I moved to Canada. Later on I started actually to do some business in Manhattan and then moved to Canada. And overall, over the years, I did development and invested in properties in 50 different cities between Israel, Canada, and the U.S.
Wonderful. And do you typically develop commercial properties, mixed use, residential, all of the above?
It's basically in different. The first company that I later on took public in 2007. It was a company that dealing with commercial properties in Israel and in the States. Later on, I founded a new company in Canada that dealing with hotel and resorts. And this company went public in 2014. And overall on a few decent-sized resorts in Canada and the U.S. and over 4,000 hotel rooms.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so you've seen your share of everything around real estate. Sounds like, right? Including yes. A couple of recessions.
Yes, quite a rounded experience. Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
Correct.
So Gil, the way we got in touch is through a project that you have going on that's in Miami, Florida. Do you mind telling us a little bit about sort of what that concept is all about and how that's come about as well?
The project we're doing in Florida, in Miami downtown, it's trying to re-envision the new space, the new office space. As we know that in the office segment, there is a major shift, almost a social shift. We see employees basically do not want to come back to the office. We see now more and more receiverships and foreclosures on big office buildings. And I'm trying to rethink the office concept. And basically, we bought a property in downtown Miami, an office property that was vacant. It's brand new property that was vacant for 5 years. The developer that built this complex could not lease it for some reason. And we basically decided to create their environment that will fit more than modern requirements of employees, more employee-centric than how it was in the past. Because if you're looking at the past, the way that office buildings have been designed, from employee point of view, you see a tall, impressive building, nice lobby, nice elevators, and basically you find yourself in a cubicle in some corner office, and the only social place to meet your fellow employees, it's near the coffee machine.
Yeah.
And basically you have zero amenities. And as you know, in these times we are more active and dynamic, and sometimes we need a quiet time, sometimes we want to be more social, sometimes we want to be more active. So we created an office space, office environment that allowed to employees basically to be in much more safer from environmental point of view. We took care to purify all the water that's coming into the building, turning the city water into microbiological safe water. We installed air purifiers that are fully proven, that can avoid and can reduce dramatically transfer of diseases, and cleaning all the pollutant from the air, allow the employees and the user to be more focused and less headache and more healthy. We add background music, we add a relaxation room.
Okay.
We have some really nice, we had a Pilates area that we have in the building. So overall, as we started to add all these amenities, we succeed quite fast to lease the majority of the space to major company. And now we are dealing with the rest of the space, and we're getting really nice demand despite the market segment and the market trend downward.
Right. So what I'm curious about is how did you, come up with this? Obviously, the big driver was COVID and what's happened in COVID and the utilization of office buildings and how people go to work, where they go to work, and that kind of stuff. Was that your main motivator behind this, or is this something that's evolved over years or maybe even decades that you've been in the industry and you've kind of noticed there's a better way to do this?
So I'm in the industry. I made a few times some changes, but the main change or the main realization that something here need to be rethink happened when my son, about 5 years ago, a very brilliant PhD student dealing with the genetics and then doing some really interesting things. From a glass of water that he drank, he got sick. And basically got bacteria in his digestion system that he cannot get rid of it, and it's basically becoming a chronic illness. It took him 2 years delay. It's cost him 2 years delay of his PhD. And I started to learn how come from a water that my son, just a glass of water that he drank before going to sleep, how come he got so sick? And when I started to learn into our water system, understanding what happened to our water since they are delivering from the city plant into our buildings, I understood that somebody need to rethink the whole issue of the indoor health, if it's about water and later on about health. So I asked my son to assist me, and he brought his science background, and we opened a company that our mission is basically to look for the best proven technology that we can use from other industries, for example, from the pharma industry, into real estate in order to elevate health and well-being inside our building. So the experiments with the office space not came out of nowhere. It came because we are already installing and delivering systems for buildings that elevating health, saving energy, and overall basically doing what we as a real estate owner need to do. I think that it's our obligation as a real estate owners to take care for the safety and health of our users and tenants and guests. But apparently it's not exist. Today, everything that goes through our water system, for example, if you look at the water, all the water coming to our buildings, entering our buildings without any safety firewall for bacteria, viruses, and pathogens. And our pipes, our city pipes, are full of biofilm, which is colonies of viruses. It's a natural phenomenon. But if you look into a city pipe, you will see something very unpleasant visually. And it's a huge communities of viruses and bacteria. And the water, even if they're coming, it's full of chlorine and clean from the city plant, till it's coming to our showers or kitchens, they are in a risk of pollution, but especially from the side of the biological risk.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is that you had a personal experience. Obviously, I think what's happened in the industry over the last 3 years exacerbated this. And it almost seems like what you were talking about is going to be table stakes going forward. As a developer, what I'm curious, what has this done to costs, right? Cost to develop something, cost to do tenant improvements. Does it help with the valuation of your property in the long run as well?
It's actually a very good question. We found out that we actually, our system can save money to real estate owners. I will give you an example. All over the United States, we are heating the boilers and the hot water tanks in our buildings to over 140 degrees, sometimes up to 150, when we don't need them more than 120. Above 120, it's a risk of getting burned. So how and why we are elevating and putting more energy to elevate the temperature? We're trying to eliminate bacteria like Legionnaires that considered a very risky bacteria that exist in the water. By using our technology, we don't need anymore to heat the water to such a high levels, and we can bring back to the temperature to the 120 degrees, saving major money to the bottom line for the operation. So basically, our systems can deliver a very nice direct saving to the real estate owner. So it's not a matter of cost, it's actually a matter of profit. And this is just the direct profit, because we already witnessing in real estate projects, if it's residentials, hotel, commercial assets, that when they are elevating health and becoming more green, they succeed to deliver higher revenue. Buildings that have, for example, the WELL certification, succeed to get higher rent between 4 to 7%. And this is not me saying that, this is the MIT last report and research that they published.
Yeah.
So there is many other benefits to real estate owners by installing systems like Clear.
What is interesting about this is there have emerged, and you mentioned the well system, but there are others also that have emerged that kind of track some of this information. Do you feel that those certifications are adequate in this day and age? And do you, what you've done with this one project in Miami, is it well above that? Where does your projects kind of fit into on their scale, if you will?
We created, although we're working very closely with WELL, and some of our systems already got works with WELL designation. We are offering to real estate owners our system that can allow them to get more points and more toward the WELL certification. But my belief is that any certification or any technology that will go into real estate in order to elevate human health and well-being and safety, it's very welcome. So even if some system not doing 100% of the work, but right now in some areas we're doing zero. So if you're starting to deal with air purification, for example, in buildings that never had it, and in some of the buildings, if you look into the air ducts, and how eventually a building breathing and delivering fresh air to the users, it's quite alarming. So anything that you will do from a certification or technology or regulation, it's welcome because we are getting sick in our buildings. I don't know if you know, but the World Health Organization years ago stated that over 30% of the buildings in the United States considered sick buildings. And sick buildings, according to the World Health Organization, is a building that over 20% of the occupants are reporting the same illness.
Wow. Okay.
So, and the cost, as per the EPA and other agencies in the United States, when they are trying to quantify the cost of the sick building to the U.S. economy, it's over $100 billion.
Wow.
It's all open and public information.
Yeah.
So, and there are ways to deal with that. You know, there are natural phenomena like the biofilm in the pipes. But there are ways and there are technologies that already have been used in the pharma or in the food and beverage industries that can eliminate these bacteria and viruses before they are getting into our buildings and into our shower, into our biological systems.
Yeah, and when you and I talked about this a couple of days ago, you essentially said you're not inventing anything new. This is technology that's already out on the market. Essentially, you can go and acquire it for any project, correct?
Exactly. So I'm not, I'm a real estate owner. I don't like to use a new technology that I'm trying the first, cutting edge technologies or very unique ones. I follow the pharmaceutical industry. So what good for Pfizer or Kimberly-Clark to purify the water and turn the water from city water into microbiological safe water into their factories, they are the same systems that basically later on we decide to use. Yeah. So we're bringing the top of the top and machines and systems that work over 18 years successfully around the world.
Gil, I think the best way to showcase to somebody why they should be doing this going forward is to maybe give a couple of anecdotes of, what have some of your tenants said, right? So you said you leased this one property in Miami fairly quickly, but tell us about kind of the general feedback from the industry that you've received and kind of how that's enhanced where you already believe.
One of the byproduct of what our system, central water purification systems, they are reducing the chlorine in the water. So I got many reporting from tenant and user that telling me that the showers feel much better, the skin and the hair not getting so dry. So there are, direct and immediate feel when you're using water that have less chlorine, for example. And, in many cases, for example, you mentioned Miami, Florida. In Florida, most of the drinking water, we all drinking there from plastic bottles. Just imagine that we can deliver microbiological safe and reducing the plastic bottle consumption. Reducing emission, footprint emission, reducing cost. And the interesting part is that we're buying all these plastic or glass bottles, carrying them home, paying big dollars for them, trying to avoid biological contamination, but then we are going into our showers or bath and we're getting the same without we potentially can get the same contamination that we're trying to avoid by drinking from our plastic bottle in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it's not really doing a lot for us, and the only solution to deliver much healthier water to it's using central systems.
So how does industry scale this? Have you talked to the associations within industry, folks like NAOP and folks like that could tell this story more broadly, more widely? What would be some ideas and thoughts that you would think would work to get more people involved in thinking about development in this way?
I will welcome any association or any business or any developers to join the movement, basically, for healthy building and more green buildings. It's a double win. We can save money on energy and reducing footprint, and we can elevate health. And I think this is something that not one guy or one company can turn the dial. It must be a movement. And anyone that's interested, first we would love to share information, and we'd love to show what we're doing. Basically, it's a truly a win-win. There's no cost involved, basically, because you can save some major dollars by reducing the energy cost. But the elevation of health and well-being will come back to you as a developer in many times. We have examples in Toronto, that development company that announced that strategically they are going healthy, and they are using clear systems to deliver healthier air and water. They succeed to sell their projects. It was 190 condos over 1 weekend.
Wow.
So, and now we are doing it in their 5th project. So the results on the marketing, sales, PR, overall reputation for the developers or the real estate owners, it's a great contribution.
Yeah.
We need to start to understand that healthy buildings, it's important to deliver health and well-being. It's important amenity in commercial and residential building.
Yeah, agreed. And so you mentioned you're doing this now in other projects. What are your plans to kind of scale this and expand this throughout your portfolio? Is every project that you do from now on going to include these clear systems? Tell us how do you plan to work on that?
Yeah, of course. I'm not just pitching and trying to convince other fellow developers or real estate owners. We're doing that in our portfolio too. We just got approval for a hotel in downtown Toronto in a very influent area called Yorkville. And we just got approvals for 38 stories hotel that will be the first clear hotel that will offer basically a very interesting ecosystem that will deliver additional health and well-being and longevity to our guests. So we're doing that in hotels. We just in the approvals process for the clear residents in Miami, for 545 units, rental units near the Brickell Bridge. And in that building, the same, the main amenity, beside, of course, quality and design, but one of the most important amenities, it's the health and well-being, and we play it very, very detailed from the design up.
Yeah,
I think this is the future. It's not about Clear or other company. I think this is eventually will be the base.
Yeah, the way that we develop essentially in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about time to harness the smart building, and we have amazing technology into the health, to elevate health, because we are getting sick in our buildings.
Yeah. Gil, as you look back over these last couple of decades that you've been in this business and doing this, what are some lessons learned? What are some things that you wish you knew as you were starting out on this road?
If I knew how much the real estate values will hike in the past 30 years, I will not sell any of my properties and just keep them. Because the best advice I could give to the younger Gil, you buy good property, hold it.
And sit on it forever, right?
Sit on forever, because the prices in some urban areas where I'm investing went very, very sharply up. Land and different properties. So this is the advice. My advice for right now for investors and real estate entrepreneurs, I think this is the time to focus on the opportunities. Not, to fence your position, but focus on the opportunities where you can save money, where you can elevate. This is exactly, for example, clear systems, and I believe there are other systems that this is the time to get more efficient, save money, and look for the opportunities, how to differentiate yourself from the herd.
Wonderful. Gil, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Stay well, and please keep us posted on your future projects and how all that's going.